We looked at each other and burst into laughter. After a few moments, we managed to control ourselves. "Let's go now," Alex said, as he offered me his hand. I grabbed his hand without any hesitation. I wished we didn't have to go back. It was all so perfect. I was happy, he was happy. Time should have just stopped. How beautiful it would be if we could spend our entire life like this, having fun, walking hand in hand, and loving each other. Oh stop, my mind was going on the wrong track. Loving each other, what the heck was I thinking? I had to stop these sort of thoughts entering my head every now and then. Our feet were now numb. We couldn't feel the snow under our feet at all. It felt like we were walking in a desert. We reached the place where we had discarded our boots. We wore them and started the descent. It was 5:30 p.m. by the time we came back to the barricaded spot. The sun had started setting. We ate Maggi noodles at a small tea shop, and headed back to Shimla. I was happy that I had come. Alex was right. I would never forget that moment when we were running barefooted on the snow together. That was the craziest and happiest moment of my life. I felt free. I felt alive. On the way back to Shimla, Alex and I discussed our plan of finding Jasmine. "Yeah, Alex, 2 days have passed and we are still busy discovering Shimla. David would be disappointed. We have promised him and we should help him," I said. Twisha, you are right. But the problem is, from where do we start our search?" asked Alex. "Maybe we can talk to Yanaji, the caretaker of my apartment. She is old and I think she has been living there for a long time. Maybe she could help us," I replied. "Good idea. We will ask her about Jasmine today, without wasting any more time." After 3 hours of traffic, we reached our apartment at 9 p.m. Alex and I went to Yanaji's flat and rang the doorbell. "Come in," she said, as she opened the door and saw us standing there. "What would you like to have? Tea or coffee?" "Nothing, thank you. Actually, we were here because we wanted to ask you something," I said. "Is it? Please ask," Yanaji said, as she looked at us puzzled. "Did you know Jasmine?" I asked hesitatingly. "Jasmine? Who Jasmine?" she said. "I guess she lived here in 1956 or before, and maybe even after." I was unsure of the year. "Oh no, dear. I wouldn't know. See, I have been here only for the last 15 years. But I know this place used to be owned by Mrs. DeCosta. She did have a daughter, but her name was not Jasmine. Her name was Eliza. Mrs. DeCosta was seriously ill, and they needed money, so they sold this place to Mr. Nath, who is an NRI. He lives in Canada with his family, and I live here alone with seasonal guests and paying guests," explained Yanaji. "Maybe Eliza could help us. Do you know where they live now?" Alex asked. "I am sorry, my child, but I don't know. All I know is, they owned a small bookstall near Mall Road," she replied. "What's the name of that bookstall?" I asked. "Yeah, there are so many," Alex added. "I don't remember it properly. You see, I am an old woman now. It's hard for me to remember stuff like this," Yanaji replied as she tried to recall the name. "Never mind, Yanaji. The information you gave us was really helpful. Thanks a lot," said Alex, and we both got up. "And yes, wait," she said as she took out keys from a drawer of a side table kept beside her chair. "Take these. I have given Bobby dinner and medicines. She must be sleeping now. Don't disturb her. I think she'll be fine by tomorrow morning." I took the keys. "That's really nice of you, Yanaji. I'll carefully open the door, without making any noise." We came out of her flat and started climbing up the stairs. "We need to find out which bookstall Eliza owned. Meeting Eliza would surely help," I said, climbing up the stairs. "Yeah, tomorrow, we are going to Mall Road to look for Eliza's bookstall," Alex replied, following me. By the time we reached our flat, it was 10 p.m. "I am tired. Please don't come at 8 a.m. tomorrow." "I am not going to get up so early," I said to Alex, as I stood by the door. "Same here, but today was a fun and memorable day. Being with you is not that bad," Alex smiled. "Even I feel the same way. Night. Good night, Udharan. Can't believe it's you." Alex and I reached the Mall Road at 11:30 am. Bobby was better, but still not strong enough to accompany us. We started looking for old bookstalls. To our fascination, almost all the bookstalls and shops were from the 1950s. "This place is like a maze," And so many old shops. I exclaimed. We will have to ask each and every shopkeeper about Eliza, Alex replied. We stepped into a small, old bookshop and asked for Eliza. The old man sitting at the counter was reading a book and gave us a cold look. He then said, "No," and continued reading his book. I think we had disturbed him. He seemed pissed, but I understand. Disturbing avid readers while they are reading a book is no less than a sin. We got the answer from 3 more bookstall owners. One shop owner, probably hard of hearing, exclaimed, "Hen," 5 times in 5 increasing pitches, as if we were asking for weed. We went to a small bistro and sat down. "It's not working, Alex." I was feeling disappointed. Alex, too, seemed disappointed. I put my head down. "What happened, madam? Are you not feeling good?" I heard an unfamiliar voice. I raised my head to see the waiter of the bistro standing with a concerned look on his face. "No, I am fine. Thank you," I replied. I was clearly disappointed. "Sir, I hope you didn't upset the young lady," he said, turning to Alex. Haha, Alex laughed. "Actually, we are looking for someone and haven't met with too much success yet," replied Alex. "Who?" asked the waiter. "Eliza. She has or used to have a bookshop around here," Alex replied. "Here," the waiter confirmed. "Yes." I raised my head with curiosity. "No, sir, there is no bookshop like that here. I know this place very well. Someone might have tried to mislead you," the waiter replied, as he wiped our table. "Can you please ask someone? Eliza has owned the shop for years." I jumped into the conversation. "A woman owning a bookshop? I don't think there is one in these parts," replied the waiter. "An old woman. The bookshop is old. And even Eliza might be in her 70s now. Okay, let me confirm this with my boss." The waiter went to the person who was sitting at the counter. He seemed elderly, around David's age. The two discussed something and the waiter pointed at us. "I don't think he'll be able to help us," I said. Suddenly, the man at the counter came out from his semi-cabin and started walking towards us. Both Alex and I perked up. He must know something. "Hi, I am the owner of this place. You can call me Mr. Shah," said the man, as he sat on the vacant seat beside Alex. "I am Alex and she is Twisha." Alex and Mr. Shah shook hands, while I simply nodded and smiled at him. "Bahadur, bring 3 cups of coffee," Mr. Shah ordered the waiter. "So, how do you know Eliza?" asked Mr. Shah. Actually, I was unsure of how to answer him. What should I tell him? That I was following the trail of some old letters? I remained silent. "We don't," replied Alex. "We just want to meet her to ask about Jasmine." "Jasmine?" exclaimed Mr. Shah. "Yes. Do you know her?" "Frankly, I don't know Jasmine or Eliza. But there was an old shop 2 streets across the circle. That bookshop was owned by 2 women. I really don't remember their names." Mr. Shah took his cup of coffee which Bahadur had brought. "All right, thanks for the information. We need to go now," Alex said hurriedly as we both got up. "But what about this coffee?" asked Mr. Shah as he saw us walking away. "We will pay for it later," Alex screamed as we exited the shop. We reached the place and were relieved to see the board. Books. Since 1935. The board was half broken and very old. The shutter of the shop was down. An old man was sitting at the staircase outside the shop and was busy smoking. "Hi, do you know what time this shop opens?" Alex asked the old man. The old man coughed badly for 10 seconds and then asked loudly, "What?" "Oh my God, this is getting on my nerves," I murmured. Alex repeated the question. "Oh, dear, are you new here?" the old man questioned back. "Please answer us." Alex was also feeling annoyed. "This shop has been closed since 1973. Everyone knows this," replied the man. "What?" Alex and I exclaimed together. "And where is the owner of this shop?" Alex investigated. "Oh, that mad lady. No one knows where she disappeared to," the man replied as he laughed. "Was her name Jasmine?" Alex asked hopefully. My heart was thumping in anticipation. "Jasmine? Oh no, the old man coughed and thought for a few seconds. "I think her name was Ellie." "Ellie, or Eliza?" I asked. "Oh yes. Her mother used to call her Ellie," replied the man. "But why did you say she was mad?" I asked. "Oh, she used to fight with everyone who sat here on this staircase." I hated her to the core. Thank God she is gone now. I can sit here all day and enjoy my chillum, laughed the old man, and then started coughing again. The man is mad. Let's go, I said to Alex as I grabbed his hand and prepared to leave. Wait a minute, Alex replied. Do you know where Lily lived? He asked the man. No, we were both disappointed. All our efforts seemed to be in vain. We started walking slowly towards the Moore Road church. Let's go and sit inside the church. Maybe Jesus will help us, I said to Alex, only half joking. Twisha, can I ask you something? Yes, see, I love my grandpa to bits. But there's something that's been bothering me. Alex was visibly uncomfortable. You know you can tell me, Alex. Isn't it strange that my grandpa never ever tried to visit Jasmine's house? Not even once, Alex stated. Alex, David told me that he promised Jasmine that he would never visit her home because of her strict family. But that was during his school years, when he was a teenager. As a grown-up, when he got married, or when he had kids, or even now. Alex paused for a second. He never ever visited Jasmine's house. Why? I had no answer. I took a deep breath and said, let's go, Alex. We went inside Christ Church, Shimla's old and fascinatingly beautiful church. About 25 people were busy decorating the interiors of the church for Christmas, which made it seem all the more amazing. We both sat on the last bench. I was feeling helpless and low, and I could see that Alex was going through the same feelings. His doubts had started affecting me as well. Alex, I exclaimed, I too wonder why David never visited Jasmine's home. But maybe he did. Maybe he didn't find anyone there and went back. But then, he would have stopped writing the letters. My tone was uncertain. Maybe we should just ask him. I finally said, no, I don't think asking Grandpa directly is a good idea, replied Alex. Then, we could give it another try, said Alex, brightening up. It seemed like he had an idea. But how? We don't even know a single thing about Jasmine, I replied. Let's look for clues in your apartment, Alex said. Suddenly the church bells started ringing. Both of us were stunned. Is this a sign? I murmured. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Come again. Alex wasn't able to hear what I whispered. Nothing. Let's go and look for a clue in my apartment, I replied, as we both got up. It's a clue. We reached my apartment and narrated the entire day's events to Bobby. She agreed to the idea of searching the apartment for a clue, and without wasting much of our time, we started our search. There was a storeroom right next to the door. I decided to check it, while Bobby was to look in the cupboards in the kitchen. Alex decided to tackle the storage area in the balcony. We were all searching for an unknown thing, and yet we searched like our life depended on it. I was sure that the church bells were a sign from Jesus. We were bound to find some clue to Jasmine's existence. And sure enough, in the storeroom I found a small, silver vanity box with a code number lock on it, and yes, it was locked. I called Alex and Bobby immediately. I had a gut feeling that we would get a definite clue inside the box, just the way it happens in movies. We started thinking about what the code could be. We tried a few number combinations, but nothing worked. Suddenly, Bobby tried 0000, and to our fascination, the code was correct. Bobby, you are genius. How did you think of that? I exclaimed. I just thought about the code I would have used. I mean, who on earth would put a difficult code on a stupid vanity box? Remembering codes and passwords is complicated, replied Bobby. All three of us gathered around the box. Keeping my fingers crossed, I tried to open the vanity box, but the lid was jammed. I pulled the knob hard to open it. Finally, after trying for 10 minutes, I was able to open the box. We looked inside with fascination. It looked clean and fresh, as if it were a new box. There was a small perfume bottle which was half empty. It read Karen Fleurs de Roquel, made in 1953. Oh my God, this is one hell of a vintage perfume, I exclaimed, as I held up the bottle. Show me, show me, show me, Bobby said excitedly, as she snatched the bottle from my hand. Oh, so pretty. This has that pom-pom spray system. I have only seen it in pictures. So lovely. Alex smiled. It's just been lying here. I am sure you can keep it. Clearly Jasmine didn't like it enough to take it with her. Do you think I can? Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bobby repeated so fast that we barely understood what she was saying. We searched through the other compartments of the box. There was a small star-shaped pendant and a rolled-up paper. Both Alex and I quickly glanced at each other and tried to pick up the paper. Our hands touched, and I felt as if a current ran through me. We both looked at each other again, and I started blushing. What the hell was happening? I've got this, Bobby said, as she picked up the letter. You two keep staring at each other, she smirked. We both felt embarrassed, yet continued smiling. I realized that I was not the only one who was blushing. Alex was, too. Open the letter, Bobby, I said. The atmosphere was getting a bit too awkward. Bobby gave me a cheeky smile and proceeded to read the letter. Dear David, you know how much I love you. I am sorry that I am writing this letter after such a long time. Things have not been going too well here. I have been through a lot. I will tell you everything in my next letter, or maybe when we get to meet someday. I was in Bombay for my treatment. My mother and sister believe that I have some kind of a panic disorder. I really feel that I am fine, but they forcibly took me to Bombay. I wanted to come back only because of you. Now I am here. Our bookshop is not doing good business. There's too much competition. We will have to sell this house and move. Our new house is located at Hilltop Road. The colony is called Pine Oak Paradise, building number 7, flat number 2. I really hope things get better soon. I want to see you, honey. I want to meet you. I got your letters and felt really happy that you haven't forgotten me. Your letters give me strength. Keep writing. Love, Jasmine. Bobby read out the entire letter in one go. Oh my God, I was shocked to hear the letter's contents. This means Jasmine shifted to a new house, but as this letter never reached David, he kept on sending his letters to this address. Exactly. We need to tell him, replied Alex. First, we need to check this address. Maybe Jasmine still lives there. I think we should try and talk to her, said Bobby, as she put the letter back. I agree with Bobby, I said as I stood up. Come on, guys, get up. We shouldn't waste our time. Let's go and check it out. I was feeling confident that the end of this mystery was near. I simply knew it. We reached Hilltop Road in half an hour. After searching for 10 minutes, we were in Building 7, standing in front of the flat. Everything was eerily silent. The climate was also getting colder by the minute, and Alex predicted that it might snow. It was foggy and dark, so we were barely able to see the next building. Bobby poked my shoulders. I am feeling scared. Can't we come back here tomorrow morning? Stop it, Bobby. Alex and I are here, nah, I whispered, as I grabbed Bobby's shivering hands and caught hold of them tightly. So, should I ring the doorbell? Alex asked in a much suppressed voice. Yeah, I replied, but why are we whispering when nobody is around us? Who are we going to disturb? I giggled. Alex and Bobby smiled. Alex rang the doorbell. It was a traditional ding-dong bell, and we could clearly hear it from the outside. We waited for 5 minutes and rang the bell again. Nobody answered. We rang the bell repeatedly, still no answer. I don't think anyone lives here. We should leave now, Bobby said as she tried to drag me away. Hey, wait, Bobby. I left her hand and shouted, is anybody home? We are not salesmen and there is no need to ignore us. Anyone there? There was still no answer. All three of us turned around, disappointed, and started walking away till we heard some movement inside. We turned back and saw that someone had switched on the light inside. I guess people in this house go to bed early. It's only 8:30 p.m. Alex joked. We could hear someone coming to the door and struggling to open some chains or locks. I rang the bell again. Oh, coming. Be patient, a boyish voice replied. The door was slowly opened. Yes, said the guy whose voice we had just heard. I was stunned. It was same guy whom we had first met on our way to Shimla, and then near the oak tree, when we were looking for David. You, screamed the guy. You, Bobby and I replied together. The three of us were glaring at each other in shock, while Alex stood there clueless. Oh, so you guys know each other, interrupted Alex, thoroughly confused. That's, kind of fab. No, please, we don't know each other. I replied, angrily. Yes, and nor am I interested in knowing you. You girls are totally crazy, the guy said. Excuse me, how dare you call us crazy? I shouted. Listen, even I can raise my voice. And why are you here? I am getting a feeling that your girls are stalking me. Are you planning to drug me and steal my stuff? He yelled. This guy is talking nonsense. I can't take it anymore, I said to Bobby. Oh, hello, Miss Universe, even I can't take your nonsense. So please, LAVA, said the boy, and he slammed the door on our faces. Angush, I was feeling totally irritated. Let's go, Uddharan. Whoa, what was that? Alex cried. Let's get in the car and I'll explain everything. Bobby said. As Alex drove us back to our flat, Bobby filled him in on all that had transpired between the boy and us. Alex was silently listening to Bobby and looking at me again and again. I was still reeling from the exchange. I felt irritated and didn't want to forget how that boy had insulted us. I wanted to take revenge. How dare he shut the door on our faces? We really need to teach him a lesson, I murmured. That's of no use, Trisha, Alex replied. I was gritting my teeth with anger. Ignoring Alex and Bobby, I started looking out of the car window. Did you hear me? Alex repeated. What? Did you see that guy's attitude? I replied, disgusted. But we could have talked to him properly and told him our problem. After all, it is our need, not his, Alex tried to convince me. Whatever it is, it's not like he even asked us why we were there. And he called us stalkers. I mean, how immature and silly is that? I was completely pissed off. I really think Alex is right. We should try to explain things to him politely. Maybe he is a good guy. Remember the first time we met? How sweetly and politely he had asked us for a lift. I think he is a nice guy. We've just started off on the wrong note. I couldn't believe that even Bobby was trying to convince me to be nice to that horrible guy. I did not even want to see his face, and that was final. At least, until the next morning. Cupid strikes, I guess you are in love. It was 7 in the morning, and I struggled to open my eyes. I saw Bobby sitting right next to me. What are you saying, Bobby? I opened my eyes wide and tried to understand her. You are, Bobby replied, as she cradled a small, purple bucket-like ice cream container. What? With whom? I was confused. And what are you eating? This is my hot chocolate with ice cream. I made it, and I am 100% sure that you are in love. Bobby ate a spoonful and said, clearly ignoring the basic etiquette of not speaking with your mouth full. Don't worry, I am ready to sacrifice my love for you. Yeah, I am a bit hurt, but it is okay. It happens, Bobby gulped. I jumped out of bed, made Bobby stand up, and said, what nonsense are you speaking? Girl, you were murmuring Alex's name in your dream. You said you love him to the core, and that he's your first love, Bobby replied, as she sat down on the bed and folded her legs. I was amazed. You are kidding, right? I asked. I was hoping that she was. Why would I? I am feeling heartbroken, but I am happy that you found your true love, Bobby replied. No, it is not that. I felt as if I had got caught. Bobby, I don't know, maybe you are right. How do you feel exactly? About him, I can help you out. All you need to do is tell me frankly what you feel, Bobby said, as she grabbed my hand and made me sit down beside her. I was silent. Right now, you are not my boss and I am not your junior. Think of me as a friend and trust me. I won't let you down, Bobby said, looking straight into my eyes. At that moment, Bobby sounded like a real friend. Her words touched my heart. I wanted to confide in her. Bobby, I sighed. Go on. I promise I won't judge you for whatever you say. Bobby's words won me over. I suddenly saw her in a new light. Friends don't judge you for being truthful. Speak frankly. I am listening, Bobby said, with the friendliest and most comforting smile on her face. I really don't know what love is. When I read David's letters to Jasmine, I really felt that he had committed the biggest folly of his life by devoting himself to her. But slowly, I came to realize how wonderful and selfless it was that he has been waiting for his love for decades. My heart forced me to believe in true love, I said. When I saw Alex, I found him attractive but his mannerisms put me off. I felt that he was not my type. Also, I came to know that you have a crush on him. I did not want you to get hurt because of me. I started maintaining a distance from him. But things just happened and my closeness to Alex grew. His words and actions started affecting me. But one day he told me that he doesn't want to get involved in love. He has seen his grandpa craving for love all his life, and this has left a very bad impression on his mind. I had tears in my eyes. Bobby was silent, and I took a deep breath, controlled my tears, and continued, I don't want to force anyone to fall in love with me. Bobby, I don't even know what love is. I just feel like being with him all the time. I want to see his face first thing in the morning and the last one I see at night. I want to believe in him and agree to whatever he says. And I never want to hear sorry from him. Waking up next to him would be the best day of my life, I feel. His presence makes me feel alive. A simple word from him adds extra color to my day. And when he looks at me, I feel I am beautiful. If this is what love actually is, then I admit that. Bobby asked. I closed my eyes and saw Alex's smiling face winking at me. I smiled, opened my eyes, and said that I am in love with Alex. There, I had said it. Fearless, confident and truthful. Oh my God, Bobby screamed with joy and hugged me tightly. I am really, really happy for you. Not everyone on this earth understands the real meaning of love. Not everyone is lucky enough to meet their true love. I am so happy that you met the one. Bobby's positive words ignited a happy spark in me. I had finally realized and accepted that I was in love with someone. The feeling was inexplicable. I wanted to dance, I wanted to sing, and I wanted to tell the whole world that I was in love. I had so much to express but no words came to my mind. I had tears of joy in my eyes. I hugged Bobby again, tightly. Very tightly. I am sorry, Bobby. He was your crush, I said. And you took him away, Bobby said, as she pushed me away from her. The sudden change in her behavior threw me off. I couldn't understand how to react. We stared at each other for a few seconds. Suddenly, Bobby burst into laughter loudly and hugged me again. I am sorry, Twee. I was just kidding. Bobby, you almost killed me with guilt, I replied, catching my breath. Hey, Twee, we are friends now, and friendship without teasing and tickling is meaningless. Right, I replied. Bobby and I high-fived each other. We decided we would wait for Alex to come over and would pretend as if I was not ready to go and talk to that guy. Then Bobby would act like she was convincing me. We wanted to see Alex's reaction. Our doorbell rang at 10:30 a.m. It was Alex. Be ready. You have to behave angrily, just like last night, Bobby instructed me as she walked towards the door to open it. And please, for heaven's sake, stop smiling. I immediately tried controlling my smile, but failed. Bobby opened the door. Alex strode in with a smile. He was wearing an orange hoodie. For the first time, I was seeing Alex as the one I loved, and not as David's grandson who was trying to help us find Jasmine. My heartbeat increased as Alex came nearer. I expected him to sit on the sofa right in front of me, but he came and sat right next to me. Good morning, Princess, Alex said with a smile. Oh God, he sounded so romantic. I really wish I could hear this line every morning. I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't say anything. My face was blank and expressionless. I was silent, but inside I was dancing. I wanted to hug Alex tightly. What happened? Are you angry with me? Why aren't you talking? Alex shrugged and asked. Gosh, he looked so cute when he shrugged. I guess, when you fall in love with someone, you tend to notice each and every little activity and expression of theirs. Everything seems adorable. I couldn't take my eyes off Alex. Bobby, Alex turned to her and said, is she fine? Why isn't she speaking to me? Bobby had to cover up for my goofiness. She laughed and said, oh, she is actually angry about last night's incident. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. How stupid was that? Couldn't she have come up with a better idea? What a silly thing to say. I glared at Bobby. See, Bobby pointed towards me. I told you. Look at how angry she is. Alex turned to me and said, oh, please, Twisha, forget about what happened last night. I could see Bobby silently laughing behind Alex. She was actually making fun of me and was enjoying this moment. Alex caught hold of my hands. Look, Twisha, my heart skipped a beat as he touched me. I gulped. Take that guy as a hurdle. And you know, hurdles are a part of every struggle. It's totally up to you to prove who is stronger. You are the hurdle. And I know you are a strong girl, Twisha. If you really want to help my grandpa, then you will have to talk to that guy. Alex's words seemed to reach my heart. He was so genuine, so polite and so calm. I took a deep breath and said, I think you are right, Alex. Alex smiled and turned to Bobby. All right, so get ready. We are going to Hilltop Road again. Udharan, Twisha, this is not done. Since last night, I have been trying to convince you to do the same thing and you refused. Alex said it just once and you agreed. That's not fair, Bobby said, trying to keep a straight face. I knew she was saying this to make Alex realize that I was biased towards him. Alex smiled and said, Oh, really? Thanks a lot, Twisha. You are a darling. Udharan, of ego, anger, etc. We reached Hilltop Road at 3 p.m. I was nervous because I had to apologize to that guy, without any reason. Okay, I know. There was a reason. I had misunderstood him and been a bit mean to him. Perhaps he was not totally unjustified in hating me. Throughout the way to the house, Bobby and Alex kept telling me how to approach that guy, what to say, what not to say and so on. But all I could focus on was Alex and only Alex. Every time he turned towards me to explain anything and our eyes met, I fell for him more deeply. I realized that I was blushing all the time. I guess that's the best thing about crushes. You look at them and smile like an idiot without having the fear of being judged for your silly behavior. Alex seemed to be saying something important. He wanted me to be prepared, in case that guy turned out to be Jasmine's grandson. He was saying something about reacting in a calm way and so on, but all I could focus on was his face. I kept smiling at him foolishly. I could see that Alex was confused. He even asked me, Twisha, why are you smiling so much? Bobby texted me 3 times to say that I should stop smiling like a fool. But sorry, I couldn't help it. I was in love. I guess love does this to everyone. Life becomes beautiful when you fall in love. You can hold a simple green leaf of any random tree and feel the tenderness of it with your fingertips. A gust of wind playing with your hair makes you feel special. When you are in love, you are lost in your own world, and it was all happening to me. I hoped there was no link with that boy and Jasmine, simply because I didn't want these regular meetings to end in a day. I wanted to keep searching for Jasmine, but I also wanted to keep meeting Alex like this every day. But what happened at Pine Oak Paradise was beyond our imagination. It was a beautiful complex. As we entered, we could see exquisite villas situated on little hills. After moving on to the main road inside the colony, we reached the place where there were 8 buildings, all arranged in a circular shape. Within that circle was an amphitheater. The colony was surrounded by snow-covered peaks. The name Pine Oak Paradise was just perfect for this place. The colony was a real paradise. Bobby rang the doorbell. We heard a voice from inside saying, Hang on. Coming. We were sure it was him. Bobby and Alex stood in front of me. We had decided that Alex would be the first to speak to the boy. Yes. He opened the door. Oh, it's you guys again. What is it? Hello, I am Alex, the owner of Very Berry Apply Orchard. Alex introduced himself as he offered the boy a handshake. Hi, the guy replied. I am Chris. Can I say something? I emerged from behind Bobby and Alex. Chris made a face. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. I was really feeling embarrassed to apologize, but I had to. I took a deep breath and finally said the 3 most difficult words to Chris. I am sorry, I said as fast as I could speak. What? Chris seemed confused, or maybe he wanted to hear it again in order to make me feel more embarrassed. I am sorry, I replied. I see, it's okay, I guess. Chris sighed. Come in, you 3. Thank you, I said with a happy smile. By the way, I am Twisha. And I am Bobby. Chris nodded, smiled and said, Come. We got seated in the drawing room. The flat was compact yet beautiful. The teak wood furniture and glass decorative items made the house look cozy and elegant. So I am guessing you didn't come up here just to apologize. I am sure there must be an important reason, Chris said as he kept a box of wafers on the center table and sat down. You live here alone? Bobby asked. Yeah, why? Chris looked surprised. Since when? The day we met for the first time, you had said you were coming from somewhere. I said, oh, so you remember our first meeting? Chris smiled. Yeah, I was coming back from a youth fest in Delhi. I am a scholarship student in BIMT, Shimla. You are a student. I was surprised that I had not noticed it before. Chris indeed looked like a college-going boy. His beard, uncombed hair, loosely fitted t-shirt and ripped jeans, all clearly depicted that he was a college student. Of course. Why, do I look like a businessman? Chris laughed. Not at all. I guess businessmen look like me. Alex replied, as the three of us laughed. Actually, we were looking for someone, I interrupted. But trust me, I didn't want to. It had been a long time since I sat down with people and discussed things other than work, and I was actually enjoying the conversation. Who? Chris became serious. Jasmine, I replied. Who? Chris asked again, as he looked stunned. Jasmine, I repeated. How do you know Jasmine? Chris inquired. So you know Jasmine? Bobby confirmed. Yeah. Oh my God, where is she? I stood up in excitement. I could see a ray of hope in front of me. Are you her grandson? Alex stood up, too. No, Chris replied. Then, how do you know her? Bobby asked him. And for heaven's sake, tell me where she is, I insisted. My patience was wearing thin. I couldn't wait to meet Jasmine. She doesn't live here anymore. Chris replied. Where does she live? And you still haven't told us how you know her, I said. I don't know why, but I felt that Chris was trying to hide something. He was clearly trying to sidestep our questions, and this was annoying me again. You didn't tell me how you guys know Jasmine. Chris cross-questioned. We asked you first, Bobby replied, and you will answer first too. I am not going to say anything about Jasmine until and unless you all tell me the whole matter. Chris was firm. We can't tell how we know Jasmine until you tell us what your relationship with her is. I, too, was firm. See, Chris, we really want to know about Jasmine, so please tell us. Alex tried to convince Chris, but the boy was adamant. Why are you being rigid, Chris? I asked. And you guys are talking like stalkers, Chris replied. Listen, if you need money, you can tell me. I can pay whatever amount you want for the information you can give us, Alex said, as he took out his wallet. How dare you? You may be rich, but I am also not a beggar. Please leave now. I don't want to entertain you three in any way. Chris's eyes were full of anger as he pointed towards the door. The opportunity was slipping from our hands. We had finally found someone who actually knew Jasmine. I had to do something. I grabbed Alex's hand and stepped in front of him. Listen, Chris, I am really sorry on behalf of my friend. His intention wasn't to hurt you. It's just that, listen Mom, I don't know who you all are and what you want. My exams are starting from next week and I need to study. So you all go now. Chris did not want to hear a single thing. But Chris, Bobby tried to say something, but Chris did not let her complete her sentence. No, just go, enough. He walked towards the door and held it open. Stunned, the three of us started to walk towards the door. We thought you would help us, but you, Bobby said as we walked out of the house. We were disheartened. Our hopes were shattered. Why didn't we tell him that we have David's letters for Jasmine? Bobby broke the silence in the car. Alex didn't reply. He was busy driving. I also remained silent. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to meet David and tell him that we hadn't been able to help him. Tell me, Twee, Bobby insisted. Maybe he would have given us the required information if we had told him about the letters from David. Are you mad, Bobby? I said, annoyed. How can we tell him that we have come to see Jasmine on behalf of her long-lost and forgotten love? How would he have reacted if we told him this? And what if he is lying that he is not her grandchild? And for heaven's sake, Bobby, use your mind sometimes. How would you feel if one day, someone came to see your mom or grandmom on behalf of her boyfriend in school? Nonsense. Everybody was silent. I took a deep breath and turned to Alex. Listen, we should go to David and tell him everything. We should tell him that we can't help him anymore. That we have failed. We are fed up of begging in front of people and bearing insults. We should tell him that he was wrong when he put his faith in us. We shattered his dreams and hopes into pieces. We are worthless. I was in tears. Alex and Bobby understood how I was feeling and remained silent. They knew that all the pressure had finally got to me. As you say, Alex almost whispered. He drove us to the mansion to meet David. I was full of anger. My face, my body language, my walk, or screamed how angry I was. "David," I shouted, as I entered the main hall of the mansion. A maid came in and told us that David was in the study room. All three of us walked into the study. Alex and Bobby were still silent. "David, we need to talk to you," I said in an urgent tone. "Oh, my dear girl. You are here. It's so good to see you after a week, or has it been 2 weeks?" David replied, as he cheerfully came towards me and hugged me. His hug magically drained my anger. I surrendered myself to this elderly man's affectionate hug. "Tell me, my child, what do you want to say?" David said, as he led us to the couch. "Sit down, my beautiful children," David said. We settled on the couch. "Alex, where have you been, my boy? You have become a busy man," said David. Alex didn't reply, and looked down morosely. "Sir, we are really sorry. We were unable to," I started. I couldn't complete the sentence. David's eyes were full of hope, affection and joy. My news would break his heart and fill his cheerful eyes with tears of grief. How could I hurt him? I felt helpless at that moment. I wanted to cry. I wished we had never got involved in all this. "Yeah, what it is, dear girl?" "Unable to, what?" David asked. "Actually, we are really sorry that we were unable to," I repeated as I looked towards Bobby and Alex in desperation. They both looked clueless and disappointed. I paused for a few seconds and turned towards David. By now, his smile had started fading. He was getting an idea that I had bad news to share. "Tell me," David insisted, "what is it?" I took a deep breath and said, "We are sorry that we were unable to spend time with you, sir." "So sorry about that," I sighed, as I successfully diverted the situation. I decided that I had to give it one last shot. I could not disappoint him like this. I would put in all my efforts in finding Jasmine. Even if I had to beg in front of Chris, I would. David laughed loudly on hearing this, while Bobby and Alex looked surprised. I looked towards Alex and Bobby, and winked. They smiled back, which signaled that they understood my intentions. "Sir, Alex is helping us explore Shimla. And we got so busy in discovering new places and wandering about that we hardly got time to come to meet you." "Really sorry, sir," Bobby took over the conversation. "Oh Grandpa, I was just following your instructions. You told me to help them and be their guide, so that's what I am doing," Alex replied as he winked at David. We all laughed. David looked happy. We had dinner together and then Alex dropped us back to our flat. We decided that by hook or by crook, we would try convincing Chris to give us information about Jasmine. "I shall put in all my efforts tomorrow. This will be my last but best try. Now, everything is on God," I said as I closed the car's door. There's an old saying, Twisha, God helps those who help themselves. And God is surely seeing the efforts we are putting in. God will help us, I am sure of it. "Good night," Alex replied. "Good night, Alex. See you tomorrow." I waved him goodbye as he drove off. The truth, the following day, I wrote a letter to Chris. "Dear Chris, to begin with, we are really sorry for yesterday's confusion. I know, it was neither expected nor needed. But we are desperate to know about Jasmine. We can't tell you why we wish to meet her, neither will we ask you to explain your relationship with Jasmine. But I'll tell you as much as I can. We just want to meet Jasmine once. It's really important. It's about something that she has been waiting for since a long time. We have a message for her, from someone whom she had known when she was a schoolgirl. It's about the promise she made to someone, to write whenever she could. It's about the letters, the unread letters that she really needs to read. We are embarrassed about yesterday's scene, and that is why I am writing this letter. If you think that we are worth helping out, do please come to the amphitheater. We will be waiting for you." Twisha, we reached Chris's flat at 10:30 am. Alex and I decided to wait in the amphitheater, while Bobby went up to the flat, slid in the letter, rang the doorbell and ran back. Alex and I sat down on the stairs. "What do you think will happen next?" Alex seemed nervous as he looked straight into my eyes. "I don't know, Alex. But today, I am not at all nervous," I replied. "How come?" asked Alex. "Because, today I am sure of what I want, and I am sure that this attempt of ours will not go in vain," I sighed. "And after that?" Alex seemed sad. "After what?" I turned towards him. His eyes were restless. Once this matter of Grandpa and Jasmine gets sorted, he couldn't meet my eye. I paused for a second. I couldn't be sure of what was going through his mind, but surely my mind was going through a tsunami of fear of losing Alex. The thought of never meeting Alex again made me panic, and I did not want to think about it. I took a deep breath and continued, I don't know what is going to happen next. But whether it is a happy ending to David and Jasmine's story or a sad one, you will always remain special to me. I stopped for a moment before saying, and I don't know how you are going to react to this, but I will miss you. Actually, you might feel weird, but Alex replied as he looked up, I will miss you, too. I had no words. He would miss me. I didn't feel happy on hearing this. I wanted to be in his life and not in his thoughts and memories. I wanted to spend endless moments of joy and love with him. I wanted to share his happiness as well as be with him in his times of grief. He made me feel alive and special. Yes, I had realized by the time that he was the one for me. We remained silent for few seconds. He wasn't looking at me now. I was in a dilemma. Should I tell him how I felt about him, or should I continue as a friend? So, I said, which made him turn towards me. What are your plans? Will you go back to London after all this? I don't know, Alex replied, rubbing his hands out of nervousness. Why? I asked, wanting to hear what was going on in his mind. Alex was impatient. I don't know, I feel like I am missing something. Something which is in front of me, but I am unable to see it. What are you saying, Alex? I wanted to hear it from his mouth. Sometimes, knowing things by yourself doesn't really help. I guess that's the thing about love, it demands to be expressed. I don't know, Twisha. But these past few days, our efforts to find Jasmine for my grandpa, something has changed me from within. I don't know what that change is, but I am feeling it. Alex was trying to explain, but he seemed to be running short of words. I feel that I have changed. Sometimes, the change occurs inside our heart and is not visible. Sometimes, we feel the change but we neither understand it nor see it, I replied. Twisha, I heard Bobby's voice. We both turned around. She came running towards us. What happened, Bobby? Did you deliver the letter and ring the bell? I asked. Oh, yes, I did. But you guys look serious. Any problem? Bobby asked, as she sat down beside Alex. No, yes, Alex and I exclaimed at the same time. I was the one to exclaim no while Alex had said yes. What? You said yes? I was puzzled to hear Alex's response. What is the problem? You did not tell me there was one. Actually, Bobby, Alex, rather than answering me, turned towards Bobby and said, I was telling Twisha that after all this, when we go back to our routine lives, I will miss you a lot. Me. Bobby was surprised to hear this. Yes, of course, Alex replied, and started looking at the three kids playing on the stage of the amphitheater. You know, with you I feel like I am alive. I was stunned to hear this line. Just a few moments ago, I had said this to myself in my heart, and now he was repeating the same lines. I leaned forward and tried to look at Alex's face. His was expressionless. He was intensely looking at the kids, as if lost in thought. I have had the most wonderful times with you. Alex continued. I have never been friends with anyone. Actually, people always befriended me because of my money. They knew how rich I am and wanted to have a good time at my expense. Suddenly Alex turned towards me and said, but you were different. You didn't care whether I was rich or not. You didn't come to me because you wanted me to pay your bills. With you, I am not the richest boy or even the son of a business tycoon. With you, I can be myself. With you, I am me. I was startled to hear this. Ahem, Bobby interrupted, and we realized that we had been looking into each other's eyes continuously. We felt embarrassed. Bobby was smiling. After seeing Bobby's smile, Alex and I started smiling too. We waited for an hour, but Chris did not come. 2 hours passed, 4 hours passed, but there was still no sign of him. I don't think he is interested. He won't come, Bobby said, exhausted. I think you are right, I replied. We should go now. And what are we going to do next? Alex asked. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a hot water shower. My back is aching, I replied as we got up. Just at that moment, we saw Chris coming towards us. He was smiling. On seeing Chris, we got all charged up like a 100-watt bulb. Our fatigue vanished in a moment. You guys are really stubborn, huh? Chris exclaimed, as he came and stood beside Alex. So, do you want to talk here or at home? Chris asked, looking towards me. It's getting cold here. Home is a better option. At least we can keep ourselves warm and drink coffee. I replied. Home is always a better option, Alex added, with a smile. We all went to Chris's house. He got a fire going in the fireplace, and we sat in a semicircle around it. As you have figured out by now, I am ready to help you. But I would like to know what else you know about Jasmine, Chris said, as he poked the unburned pieces of wood in the fire. Well, I said, we know that she has a sister named Eliza. Oh, Chris exclaimed in surprise. So, you know Eliza, too? Udharan, we know about her, I replied. Well, then you might as well know that I am Eliza's son. Chris said, Eliza's son. I was surprised, obviously. What are the odds? Bobby exclaimed. So, Jasmine is your aunt. Alex confirmed. Chris smiled and nodded in agreement. So, where's Eliza? My curiosity level was rising. And where's Jasmine? Chris closed his eyes and sighed. He seemed sad. After a few seconds, when he opened his eyes, we could see tears in them. He was silent. What is it, Chris? I asked, as I got up and sat beside him. I miss my mom, Chris replied. His voice was trembling. He seemed close to tears. What happened? Alex asked. She is no more. Chris almost cried at that moment. People say that she was mad, but that is not true. She was a good woman. It is just that she had fallen for someone. Fallen for someone. I was not getting what Chris was talking about. I was really not bothered about Eliza and her life. All I wanted to know was where Jasmine was. But as Chris was our only source to reach Jasmine, we had to bear with all this. But you are so young, Chris. How can you be? I didn't know how to say it without sounding offensive. Chris seemed younger than all of us. Something was surely fishy. Actually, Eliza's mom never married. She adopted me when I was 4 months old. Since then, she gave me her name and brought me up like her own child. And Jasmine? I asked. I was growing impatient. We had been asking him about Jasmine for a long time, but he had not revealed anything about her. I wondered what the secret was that he was hiding from us. And why did Eliza never marry? Bobby added. Let me tell you a story. Chris turned towards me. I looked at Alex, who rolled his eyes. Of course, we were not interested in his story, but we did not have a choice in this matter. There was a girl who loved a boy since childhood. They were best buddies and used to play and spend time together. The girl never expressed her love to the boy, as she thought that the boy knew of her feelings. Anyway, but one fine day, the boy came to the girl and told her that he had fallen for someone. The boy told her how much he loved that other girl, and how pretty she was. The girl's heart shattered into pieces. She had been waiting for the boy to propose to her. She had dreamt of a future with the boy, about the house in which they would live together, about the kids, about the daily routine, every little thing. The girl's hopes and dreams were shattered. With a heavy heart, she asked the boy who the other girl was. The answer shook her up. It was none other than her own sister. Chris's eyes were full of tears. He took a deep breath and continued. The girl I am talking about was Eliza, the other girl was Jasmine, and the guy was David, I exclaimed. Chris was stunned to hear this. You know David? How do you know him? Yes, we know David, I replied. But what happened next? What happened to Jasmine and Eliza? What did Eliza do when she realized the truth? Bobby asked. Eliza was totally in love with David. She did not want to lose him at any cost. She was a bit stubborn and outspoken, and this disappointment made her manipulative as well. She went to Jasmine and tried to influence her and convince her that David was not a good guy. Jasmine did not believe her, and asked her to keep out of it. Jasmine and David started writing letters to each other. Oh, yes, the letters. What happened next? I interrupted. I was excited to hear that finally the story was coming to the point where it had all started. The letters. Jasmine kept the letters a secret, but soon Eliza came to know about them, Chris said, as he rubbed his forehead. He seemed to tense up. Then, I asked, it's not easy for me to talk about it because Eliza was my mom and she loved me. But what she did next was unforgivable. I can only justify it by saying that love is blind. Eliza thought of a plan. She became very nice to Jasmine and told her that she would help her in every way that she could. Jasmine had quit school some time ago. She had been diagnosed with a disorder which did not allow her to step out of her home, so she used to write letters to David. She trusted Eliza and used to ask her to deliver those letters. But Eliza never gave those letters to David. Instead, she started creating trouble between the two. She would tell Jasmine that David had forgotten her and that he had tried to flirt with her. What? Alex exclaimed. In fact, all three of us were shocked to hear this. Yes, and she did more. For example, if David would tell Eliza to ask Jasmine to meet him at 5 p.m., Eliza would tell Jasmine that he wanted to meet her at 5 a.m. She did everything she could to create misunderstandings between the two lovers. We looked at Chris, who looked away. Obviously, it was not easy for him to recount all this. David used to write letters to Jasmine and he gave those letters to Eliza, but Eliza never gave his letters to her. Jasmine started believing that David might have changed. She wanted to discuss things with David, but she was scared that David might leave her after knowing that she had been detected with a disorder. They went to Bombay for her treatment. When they came back, they had to sell the house, with the help of some relatives. While packing her stuff, Jasmine found letters written by David in Eliza's vanity box. Jasmine decided to tell each and everything to David and clear all the misunderstandings between them. She wrote a letter to David explaining everything. But before she could get someone to deliver the letter to her love, Jasmine got a panic attack. She quickly hid that letter in her vanity box. When Eliza came into the room, she found Jasmine on the floor, unconscious. A few days later, they shifted to this house. Jasmine's disease became more and more severe, and she was mostly under bed rest. Eliza wanted to marry David but he refused. David married someone else after a few years. This news broke Eliza as well as Jasmine from within. Chris got up and went to the kitchen. We were all in a daze after hearing this story. David had never told us about Eliza. And how did Chris come to know all this? I was anxiously looking towards the kitchen, awaiting Chris' return. He came back sipping some water. I am really sorry. I have never told all this to anyone. It was really hard for me to know this and keep it in my heart, Chris said, as he sipped water after every 2 words he spoke. He seemed quite restless. So how do you know all this? I asked. Eliza's mom confessed all this to me when she was on her deathbed. She admitted that what she did was really wrong. Half of Jasmine's body got paralyzed due to her disorder. It was Eliza who eventually looked after her. She adopted me because she wanted someone to take their family name forward. She loved me more than a biological mother. She never got married because of Jasmine and me, and, of course, because of her love for David. By now, Chris was sobbing. And what about Jasmine? Did she forgive Eliza? Bobby asked. Yes. During the last moments of her life, Eliza apologized to Jasmine. If only Eliza had not loved David, or would have accepted that David was in love with Jasmine, their lives would not have been ruined, Chris replied, wiping tears off his cheeks. What was Jasmine's reaction? I inquired. Did she not express her wish to talk to David? Bobby added. No, Jasmine aunt was a calm lady. She forgave her sister for backstabbing her. And she never met David again. Chris was still sniffing lightly. She said that David was a married man, and that he would have a family. She didn't want to cause any distress to him, Chris finished. We were speechless. I wasn't sure of what to say or how to react. Where is she? Jasmine, I exclaimed in a hushed voice. Come with me, Chris replied, as he got up and started moving towards the corridor. At the end of the corridor was a room. The door of that room was closed. Though I was deeply affected by the story of Eliza and Jasmine, yet somewhere within, I was happy that finally our search was about to end. We were about to meet Jasmine. All the moments of anxiety, curiosity and tension were now about to get over. Chris opened the door and walked in silently. My heartbeat was growing quicker. My curiosity levels were on top note. I wanted to see how Jasmine looked in real. Until now, I hadn't even seen her picture. We entered the room and looked around. The first thing that caught my eye was an empty, single bed. Then I noticed a small bookshelf that had a few books on it, and a small wooden box. I looked at Chris, but he was standing in front of a fireplace which had a small wall unit mounted above it. "Here's Jasmine," Chris said, as he turned around and moved aside. "I told you she is in a better place now." I couldn't believe my eyes. My vision got blurred with tears as I stood in front of the wall unit, looking at Jasmine's photo with a white flower wreath on it. I broke down. Alex came forward and caught hold of me. He held me close, preventing me from collapsing on the ground. I did not know what to feel. I was continuously looking at Jasmine's smiling face, and tears were flowing out of my eyes. I was feeling crushed from within. What would I tell David? I was cursing the moment when I had decided to seek Jasmine for David. I would have to break the hopes of an old man who had so many expectations from me. Bobby and Alex were crying, too. We did not know what to do next. Aunt Jasmine left me 3 years ago, and she gave this to me. Chris walked up to the bookshelf and took a letter out of the box placed there. She said that her heart says that one day, someone would surely come seeking her with lots of questions. She believed that her story couldn't end like this, and that's why she wrote this letter and gave it to me, and asked me to give it to the one who came looking for her. I took the letter. I had nothing to say. I did not even have the guts to open that letter and read it. I gave it to Alex and came out of the house. After 10 minutes, Alex and Bobby also came out of the house. Alex came to me and said, "Let's go." I silently followed Alex and we got into the car. I sat in the front seat, beside Alex. He took out the letter from his pocket, gave it to me and said, "You have to give this to Grandpa. Visha, don't worry, Bobby and I are with you. You will not have to face it alone." Uddharan. Towards new beginnings. By the time we reached my flat, it was already 7:30 in the evening. Alex suggested that we tell everything to his grandpa the following morning. We all agreed. At least that would give us time to think of how to break the news to him. And, of course, we also needed time to handle ourselves and come out of the shock that we were in. I was feeling sad that night. I did not have dinner. I was feeling crushed and helpless. I was sad, not just because I couldn't give a happy ending to this story, but because I felt I would be letting David down. He had been writing to Jasmine and waiting for her for decades. And suddenly, tomorrow, we were going to tell him that the one he loved more than anyone else on this earth was no more. It would break him. I did not want to think about it. I tried to divert myself by thinking of happier times in Shimla, but immediately my mind was full of thoughts of Alex. I would probably never see him again. Tomorrow was going to be the worst day of my life. I was going to shatter David's hopes and also lose Alex, my first and only love. I had never imagined that this quest of finding someone else's love would make me meet my own love. And the worst thing is, now that the quest had ended, my love story would end too. How unlucky I was. I couldn't sleep the whole night. Before I knew it, it was morning. "You awake?" Bobby said, as she entered my room. I replied as I sat up. "Oh, Twee. Looks like you haven't slept all night," Bobby exclaimed, as she came near me. I lowered my eyes. My face was saying it all. "Twee, what are you trying to do to yourself? You should not take stress to this level. These things happen." Bobby hugged me tightly. I was so blank and lost that I did not hug her back. Bobby got up from the bed and said, "Twee, please don't be so upset. I do not like it at all." "Bobby, I am cancelling this project. We will go back tomorrow." "I don't want to stay here anymore," I said. "Besides, we haven't submitted the reports, nor have we done any work." "But why? What about our assignment?" "Leave it. I'll manage things in office. Just pack. Let's finish up this mess here and then we'll leave for Bangalore tomorrow." I just don't understand." "Bobby, please, I don't want to argue. Right now, I am speaking as your boss and you have to listen to my orders. Do as I say." I know was talking rudely to Bobby, who had been there for me throughout this emotional journey, who had always supported and understood me as a true friend. But at that moment, I was not myself. I was lost somewhere. I was helpless in front of my own emotions. Bobby silently got up from the bed and nodded. "Anything else?" "No. Can I say something?" "Twee, I know you cried all night. I know how you must be feeling right now. I know how you feel about Alex. But all I want to say is that you are a nice and true person. And the feeling of love can't stay away from nice people for a long time. Remember, if your love is true, it will reach you one day. Bobby turned around and walked out of my room. Bobby's words touched my heart. Even though in my mind, the future was only dark, her words gave me hope. Hope for something that was unknown to me, but was positive. As decided, Alex came to pick us up from our house at 11:30 am. I was still nervous as to how I would react, and what I would say to David. All the way to the mansion, we were silent. Alex seemed upset, too. He did not even wish us good morning. We finally reached his house. As we entered the mansion, I saw David sitting in the garden. As he saw us coming, he waved at us with a bright smile. How was I supposed to tell him the truth? How could I hurt this joyful man? God, please forgive me. Oh, my dear children are here, David said. I tried to give him a smile but just couldn't. We were silent. I couldn't make eye contact with David. What happened, children? David asked. He might have sensed that something was wrong with us. We hadn't spoken a single word since we had arrived. Is everything fine, Alex? David turned towards Alex. Alex took a deep breath and said, Grandpa, we need to tell you something. Sure, my child, I am all ears, replied David, with a smile. Twisha, Alex looked at me and said, Sir, actually, I gulped. I wanted to say it all, but words did not come out of my mouth. I guess, even my words were rebelling against this horrible news I had to convey. I know something is wrong. Don't worry, dear, you can tell me frankly. I promise, I will understand, David replied, as he caught hold of my hand and made me sit on the chair beside him. I did not want to hurt David. I took out the last letter which Jasmine had written, and gave it to David. What is this? David was confused. Read it, sir, you'll know, I replied, as I got up and walked a few steps away from the dining table. I couldn't control my tears. I turned back and saw David opening the letter. I looked up and prayed to God to give him strength at this moment. As I saw David reading the letter, his expressions changed from happy to sad. He let out soft moans that finally gave way to tears. The last letter, dear David, I don't know by what means, but I am sure this letter will surely reach you one day. At first, say thanks to the one who will bring you this letter. I am sure you will. David, this is my last letter. I am going away forever. But before going, I just want to tell you a few things that I couldn't tell you before. Firstly, Alisa was my sister. She backstabbed and created a misunderstanding between us just because she loved you. I respect her love. She never got married because she wanted to marry you. She realized her mistake during the last days of her life. Please forgive her. Secondly, I know that you loved me. When I got your letters for me which Alisa had kept hidden from me, I willingly did not contact you because I did not want to disturb your family life. I know you must have a wife, children and probably grandchildren. Love them and be loyal to them. And please forgive me for not writing to you. I know it must have been a hard time for you to wait for me. Thirdly, David, I love you. Yes, you are my one and only love. I loved you. I love you and will always love you. I am going away physically from here. This doesn't mean that I am actually gone. I will always be with you. Every morning, the sun will shine brightly on your face and will give you warmth. Feel me in that warmth. Every evening, cool breeze will embrace you. Feel me in that pleasure. Each night, the moon will shower silver mist on you. Feel me in that cold mist. I am always there with you, in the blossoming flowers, in the dancing leaves, in the colorful butterflies, in the raindrops, and in the early morning dewdrops. How I wish, David, that I could have a chance to tell you how much I love you, but that was not to be. Never mind, next lifetime, we shall meet and I will be yours. And yes, don't be upset after reading this letter. I am seeing you from above. Just raise your head, look at the sky, feel the sunshine and smile. I will smile back at you, David, and in this way, we shall meet every day. I was yours and will always be yours. I miss you, too, because I know you miss me. Love you, David, yours only. Jasmine. I wiped my tears and looked at David. He was still reading the letter. I looked at Bobby, but she seemed lost and was silently crying. I looked at Alex. He was looking at David too. David was crying. I could see his teardrops falling one by one on the letter. He closed his eyes tightly and hugged the letter as hard as he could. He wiped his tears and got up. Taking a deep breath, he turned towards us. Bobby and I quickly wiped our tears as we saw David coming towards us. Alex, Bobby and I slowly moved towards each other and stood together. David came to us and said, "This." He raised his hand to show the letter. "I would like to." He paused for a second as he controlled his tears. "I would like to thank you all for this. Now, I can live my remaining life in peace and die in peace." His eyes were red and moist. He turned back, looked up to the sky, spread his arms and smiled as if he could feel Jasmine and see her smiling from above. By that time, I had understood, if it has a reason, if it makes sense, if it is demanding something in return, it is not love. If someone would have asked me to explain what love is, I wouldn't have been able to, because the feeling of love cannot be defined. It can just be felt. And, of course, defining what is love is easier than defining what is not love. I was all lost in thought, when suddenly I felt Alex's warm touch on my hands. He clutched my hand and squeezed it tight. Alex leaned towards me and whispered in my ears, "I really don't want all this to happen in my life." I was silent. "And, so, Twisha, I would like to ask you." Alex continued as he looked deep into my eyes, "Will you marry me?" I was shivering. I had tears in my eyes. I couldn't believe what Alex had just said. I was numb, startled with joy. I turned towards Bobby. "Come on, say yes," Bobby murmured. I turned back to Alex, raised myself on my toes, and whispered in his ears, "Yes." Alex gave a big smile and hugged me tightly. This made David turn around towards us. We quickly moved away and controlled our happy expression. Bobby was smiling, too. I exclaimed, "I think we should leave now. I hope you are not angry with us, David." "Angry," David said, surprised. "I am grateful." We turned around and left him with his thoughts. We reached the car parking and quickly got inside the car. "Congratulations, you too," Bobby exclaimed in a super joyous tone. I was blushing, and Alex seemed overwhelmed. Sometimes, it is wrong to predict anything. Sometimes, it is better to go with the flow. And sometimes, it is better to take a step ahead with faith in your heart. My mind was working overtime. What had actually happened? That day was totally unexpected. The day that I had thought to be the worst day of my life, actually turned out to be the best. "Oh, gosh, you are both blushing like newlyweds," Bobby cheered. We couldn't stop smiling and blushing. "All right, I am closing my eyes, you both can," Bobby said, as she giggled. "You know what I mean." I turned back to scold Bobby and to ask her to stop teasing us. But I saw that Bobby had actually closed her eyes. I looked at Alex. My heartbeat was rising. He was just an inch away from me. "Twisha," Alex whispered. I love you, too." And we kissed. Epilogue. It's been a year since all this happened in my life. Things have changed now. Life has changed now. I am a better person. I understand what love is. My perception towards love was so wrong. I am really glad that I realized my mistake. I feel guilty when I remember that I used to think of love as a mere step to sexual desire. Love is divine. Love is like a prayer. Love is the sound of nature. It is pure as morning dew, strong as sunshine, and clear as water. Falling in love is a beautiful feeling, and when you realize that you have found your true love, life changes. It's like you know there is someone whom you love unconditionally, without demanding anything in return, not even their time. That's when you realize you have found your true love. David kept waiting for years to meet his love. His life didn't stop, but he didn't stop loving Jasmine either. His love was above all conditions. It kept him going. Though I am sad that his love story didn't reach the end that he desired, it taught me all I know about love. He knew Jasmine loved him, although Jasmine never said anything. He knew that love couldn't be wrong. He knew Jasmine's silence was not a sign of betrayal. He kept on waiting for a day when she would reply. He spent his entire life waiting for the one he loved, and now that he knew that Jasmine was no more, I wondered how he was dealing with it. I also wanted to comfort him with my words. I wanted to console him and share his pain. So, one day, I decided to talk to David. I asked him how he was feeling. He smiled and said, "I am absolutely fine." I felt hesitant. Alex had told me that the news of Jasmine's death had been hard on David. Naturally, he had seen David crying and reminiscing about the cherished memories of Jasmine. He also told me that David always carried the last letter by Jasmine on his person. After gathering courage, I asked David, "Are you over Jasmine?" Okay, I know this was a really silly and stupid question, but I couldn't approach it in any other way. Over Jasmine. David seemed puzzled. Over Jasmine. I will be over Jasmine the day I die, he said angrily. I am sorry, David, I didn't mean it in that way. I struggled to explain myself. Suddenly, David burst out laughing. Don't worry, I am sorry for my sudden, rude reaction, but it just came out. I understand what you want to know, David explained as he stood up. Let's go for a walk and I will explain, David said. We reached the garden. It was a bright, sunny day. He looked up, took a deep breath, and said, "Love is strange, Twisha. It destroys people. See what it did to me. I lived my entire life waiting for my love. No conditions kept, no promises made, just the faith that my love can't be wrong. It cannot be wrong. Love has the power to destroy, but it also gives a new lease of life to people. You and Alex love each other. Someday, if I come to you, and out of nowhere, I ask you to stop meeting Alex and tell you that he doesn't love you, will you believe me?" "Never," I replied. "Exactly. You would wait to hear the same thing from Alex. And even if he tells you that he doesn't love you, you will keep on bugging him until you get a reason that satisfies your soul." Jasmine's silence wasn't satisfying my soul. My soul knew there had to be more to it than her silence let on. Sometimes, you need to take a leap of faith and follow what your soul says. Jasmine is a part of my soul, and will always be. I performed my duties and lived my life the way my family and society wanted, but deep within, I remained that young David who loved Jasmine. Somewhere, I will always be that same David. It's been a lifetime, but nothing went in vain. My wait, my hope, my faith. I don't regret even a single second of my life. She was my soulmate, that's why my soul kept on guiding me to not give up on her. I miss her, and at times, I cry for her. And why should I not? Crying is absolutely normal. I cry for my lost love. I cry because I couldn't love her in the way I wanted to. I cry because I couldn't hold her hands and walk like this in a garden. I cry because I bought movie tickets for her but that date never happened. I cry because I didn't get enough time to make good memories with her. I cry because I couldn't get married to her. I cry because I was not with her when she was in pain. I cry because I loved her and we didn't meet. Yes, I cry for her because I loved and that love was never realized, but it is okay. I am an old man now, and soon, I'll be gone too. I just want to tell you one thing. David turned towards me. I was in tears. He wiped my tears and said, "Make sure you and Alex express each thought, good or bad, to each other. Don't let even a tiny gap of communication come between you both. Tell the truth, no matter how harsh it is. Always forgive your love and understand him. He loves you and will never try to hurt you intentionally. But if he does, try not to give up on him. And the same goes for you. Love is a beautiful feeling and rare people get a chance to spend their entire life with the love of their life. You both are lucky, and I really want you both to be living the happiest life ever." That was the day when I realized how special what Alex and I had was. Today, we are getting married. I am happy to start a new life. I will be taking that first step to spend my entire life with the one I love. For the past 1 year, we have been in a long-distance relationship. We only met twice or thrice since the day I left Shimla after my tour. Still, we share the strongest bond. Unlike other couples, we didn't talk on the phone 24/7, or keep on texting the entire day. He is busy handling his business and I have a job. We know it is important to have our own lives, our own work. This actually makes our bond stronger. When Alex first proposed to me, I was happy but also scared. I thought things would become difficult for me to manage as I was a workaholic. But with time, I realized how sensible Alex is. He loves and respects me, and my work. Unlike other boyfriends, he didn't keep pinging me every now and then. He didn't baby me every time, neither did he expect me to do these things. Our love is real. We know we love each other and that's all that matters. We didn't show off our relationship to people around us. We respected each other's space and time. Alex is a really nice guy, someone with whom any girl will be happy to spend her life with. I am lucky to have him in my life. It is said that love changes people. I agree. After being in a relationship with Alex, I have become a better person. And I guess that's what is important. A good relationship is when you start to care about yourself and realize that you are special and important for someone. I have started loving myself even more. Alex made me realize how important I am for him. Every day, he reminds me how much he loves me, and this motivates me. His love inspires me to be a better person. But the most important lesson I have learned about love is from David, and not Alex. David's life has taught me that we shouldn't wait for the right time to confess our feelings. There is no such thing as the right time when it comes to love. The moment you realize you have fallen for someone is the moment from which your right time starts. Express yourself. Time can play its turn anytime, making you wait forever. If you love someone, say it loudly. It's love, not a crime. It's a feeling that everyone deserves, yet few are fortunate to have. Not everyone is lucky enough to meet his or her soulmate. David waited his entire life, abiding by Jasmine's promise to not visit her ever. There are no rules when you are in love. If David had broken his promise and had gone to her house, his life would have been different today. It is said that everything is fair in love and war. Yes, it is. If your love is real, then everything is fair. Even breaking the promise you made, if it is for the good of both of you. So, if you love someone, go express your love today. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. There is no point in bottling up your feelings. And that's the thing about love, it demands to be expressed. I need to go now. It's 4:45, and my bridesmaids are here. I found my love, we fearlessly expressed our feelings, and today, I am getting married to him. Don't think too much. Go and say that you love him or her. Who knows, maybe today is that lucky day when you start to live your own beautiful love story. Best of luck. Acknowledgements. Writing this book was a journey which changed me as a person. I'm truly grateful to God for blessing me with thoughts, power and the patience to understand things in life. I realized the importance of now. I realized how hard it is to wait for someone, especially when there are no promises made and no conditions kept, but faith makes you sail through all the ripples caused by negative thoughts. Sometimes you feel like giving up, but then there's a little, yet strong, voice inside your heart which never lets you give up. And trust me, you shouldn't give up on things you actually love. I am grateful to each and everyone who's been with me all through. Family, saying thanks to you wouldn't be fair. So, know that I love you more than anything and anyone in this entire world. Me too, Anchal, thank you for being my family away from home. Much love to you both. Ravi, for always being there. You are my lucky charm. Mohit, for supporting me no matter what. And Afi, for simply existing in my universe. Big hug to Nadeem, Shivani Garg, Yogita, Sangeeta, Sagar, Ishnur and Lakshya for always adding a little sunshine to my sky. My editor, Sangamitra Bishwas, and the entire team of Westland, for all the efforts that you've put into making this book a perfect one. We're on a roll, you my dear reader, for the all love and support. We've got a long way to walk together. And Ganpati Bappa, for always listening.